I'm no stranger to disappointment. The food that I cook is burnt, my orders at Dunkin' Donuts get fucked up, I'm still waiting for my dad to bring me some milk. He's taking longer than you'd think. However, there is a special place in my heart of hearts that gets shattered every time I watch a live action adaptation of something I enjoy. Now, if you don't know me, I love animated content. For the longest time, I had the sentiment of, if it has real people, I'm not gonna watch it. So in my little lizard brain, whenever I hear that something I enjoy is getting a live action adaptation, I get really excited. Once, exactly one time, have I watched a live action adaptation of something that I enjoyed and not been disappointed. Why? Why do they always have some critical flaw? Why is there always a chink in the proverbial armor? Why is there always an Achilles heel? Why can't live action adaptations seem to get it right? Boom, title drop, baby, and I'm just getting started. Oh, my phone, haha, my phone. So to find out what makes a bad adaptation, you first have to ask yourself what makes a good adaptation. And it's a lot harder than you'd think. The main problem is that it's subjective, but I think I narrowed it down to 3 things. The team behind the movie needs to actually care about the property they're adapting. The team behind the movie need to understand, at least on a basic level, what made the property they're adapting unique and entertaining. And this one might actually be the most important. It has to function as a satisfactory viewing experience for people who haven't seen the original series. If an adaptation is missing any one of these 3, it isn't a good adaptation. Let me explain. Now, there's a very real chance you don't know who Jem and the Holograms are. There are 2 things you need to know. Banger-ass songs and girl boss. This show's a hit with young girls around the globe. I mean, this thing hit crazy numbers, I think. Airing from 1985 to 1988, it would have about 2.5 million viewers weekly, which sounds pretty good, I'm not gonna lie, but I don't have anything to compare it to. The point is, the show had an audience, and a probably big one at that. Enough business, what's the show about? Jerrica Benton, you guys really didn't want to re-roll the name generator on that? Jerrica Benton is the CEO of Starlight Music and also the lead singer of her own band called Jem and the Holograms. She can pull this off because she was gifted a device from her father called Synergy, which lets her cast holographic clothes and such onto her and her band members so they can live this double life or whatever. The episodes consist of a wacky adventure, a nice song for the episode, pretty simple formula, right? pretty hard to mess up, right?
You tripping, bro. You tripping.
I want you to imagine you're the writer for this new movie. How would you handle the script? If it were me, I'd make it a prequel, show Jerrica rising to her position, throw in a really good song or 2, and that's an easy day. However, this isn't what happened. They instead elected to use a name property to tell the small town band story, where the band is okay, but the lead is really great, and they only gain fame as a group because of the bond of the members. Oh my god, that's Big Time Rush. On a serious note, the movie's absurdly cliche. It's sort of a MacGuffin puzzle piece quest. So her dad was some crazy inventor who left the pieces of Synergy, which is spelled like this, around the country. Besides the names of the characters, this has nothing to do with the original series. It's literally just Big Time Rush. I can't stop thinking about that. It's so easy to tell that they just didn't care, because even removed from the plot of Jem and the Holograms, the movie doesn't make any damn sense. Tell me if you buy this story. Someone right now uploads an unedited video to a channel with no subscribers, gets a couple million views, and then a bunch of executives come out of nowhere trying to sign them. Not only did they not care about the property, they didn't care to do the 10 seconds of research to let them know that this plot is just dead in the water. Now, I could be entirely pessimistic during this video essay or whatever the fuck this is, but I want to be nice. So here's a good example, The Boys. The Boys is great, right? Fab Five Freddy told me everybody's fly or whatever. This is probably one of the most incredibly received adaptations of anything right now. Hell, a huge amount of the fans of the original prefer the adaptation. The show and the comics are wildly different, so why is it okay for The Boys to do it and not okay for Jem and the Holograms? Because the writers of The Boys give a shit. Every change they make adds something to the world or improves it in some way. I think the biggest example I can give you is Black Noir. Skip to this timestamp if you aren't caught up or whatever. In the show, they infinitely improve his character. Did you know that he was originally a clone of Homelander? Did you know that that sucks? The changes the production team make all add something to the world to enhance it. That's why they work, even though they split the show further from the comics. The team cares enough about the property to make sure that the fixes and changes they make sense in that world. And also make it more interesting, because now we have Black Noir and Soldier Boy lore, and it's great. Also, you know, it doesn't tell the most boring, cliche, stupid fuck. I think this is probably the one that gets messed up the most, despite it being the easiest to hit. Here's an uncontroversial opinion. Dragon Ball Evolution is awful. This is probably one of the 2 worst adaptations I've ever seen. Don't worry, we're gonna talk about that one. I don't think I need to explain the absolute legend of Dragon Ball. It's such a cultural staple that even if you haven't seen the show, you've seen something inspired by it for sure. I mean, you don't get fan projects like this if your show isn't incredible. So let's give the crew all of the answers again. Akira Toriyama's Dragon Ball rose to success because of 3 main reasons: the incredible cast, the immaculate action choreography and paneling, and the feeling of adventure. What does Evolution provide? There's no way the people who made this have watched a single episode of Dragon Ball. I'll sell my left lung if they have. The most basic facts of the story are just thrown from the outset. Do you remember the Goku high school arc? It's super important. It's the one where he meets Chi-Chi and beats up Brad at the cheerleaders party. It's right before Grandpa Gohan gets murdered. In case you can't tell, this is nowhere in the original story. A school isn't even seen until chapter 421. What's bonkers to me is that the Grinch does a better job of adapting than this. I understand it's a simpler story, but I don't think I care. The positive character development is a really important factor, and had they messed that up, the whole thing would have been worthless. Illumination.
And release all of those sounds that are trapped in your mind.
You can't have this one without the other 2. If the crew doesn't care about the property they're working on, and they don't understand, at least to a basic, bare bones level, what made that property unique and special, you're not going to have a satisfactory watch for newcomers to the series. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean, if you've been watching this long, I assume you'll let me explain. I should be able to walk into your movie adapting a property with no prior knowledge of said property, and I should be able to leave understanding a few things. Who the characters are, what their goals, flaws, and relationships to the other characters in the series are, what the general themes and ideas of the story are, and finally, why do people like the series? Why should I invest my time into a sequel or into the original product? The goal of an adaptation like this is to reach a new audience and get them invested in the plot. The goal is to make you a fan of the series. So what's my final big bad example? Avatar: The Last Airbender. I've reviewed this movie. Don't watch that video, it's bad. Like, production quality, it's bad. I stand by everything I said. But just as a quick refresher for those who don't know me, I saw this movie in theaters. I was 6 years old, and at the time I had been passively watching Avatar with my dad and my sister. I thought it was neat. I just didn't have the attention span for it. So leaving the theater, I had a great time. Please keep in mind I was 6, I didn't know what a good movie was. So in case you didn't know, Nicktoons, they would do this thing where they would just marathon the show over like 2-3 weekends. And when I was 10 or 12, I caught this entire marathon, and it was great. I love the series. I'm a lifelong fan. I decided to end this experience by going down to the, I think Blockbuster was still a thing, going down to the Blockbuster and picking up the live action movie with my dad. I was furious. Words cannot actively describe how frustrated I was watching this movie. Now, to be fair, I don't envy the position the writers were in. They had to cram the first season of a show into like an hour and a half, 2 hours. But there had to have been a better way to do it than this. This movie has to be one of the most flat out bad things I think I've ever watched. Bizarre editing, terrible acting, mediocre direction, horrendous CGI. This thing hits all the marks of a bad movie, but the most egregious offense to the movie is pacing. They'd have episode 1, 1-to-1. Then they cut episodes 2 to 17 into 20 minutes, and they adapt the last 3 episodes almost 1-to-1. Bad. Bad writers. Don't do it again. This is a horrible movie, and I would never recommend this to someone, not even ironically. Just watch this. Or this. Or this. Or the show. But you know what movie is a satisfactory watch without prior knowledge of the series? You know what movie had a crew that understood what made the original thing special? Do you know what movie's crew really cared about what they were doing? Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is my all-time favorite live-action adaptation of anything ever. This one checks every box. In the first 10 minutes alone, it's incredibly apparent that we're watching a passion project. This shot alone could tell me that, because it's pulled directly from the comic. They didn't need to do that. Little stuff like this goes a long way. On top of that, the movie's really fucking funny, and all the actors and cast do a really good job playing off each other in a natural way. But most importantly, I'm willing to bet that at least 60% of the audience of this movie have never read a single one of the comics. But now everyone and their mom loves this movie, and they should. It's great. It's so good. It's hilarious. It's dramatic. It's action-packed. And most importantly, it's the live-action adaptation that seemed to get it just right. Hey, so I'm editing this video right now, and I decided to look into it a little more. One of the writers issued an apology for Dragon Ball Evolution. Just quickly, I want to read 2 small parts from it. I promise this won't take long. I went into the project chasing after a big payday, not as a fan of the franchise, but as a businessman taking on an assignment. There's some stuff in between. I've learned that when you go into a creative endeavor without passion, you come out with suboptimal results, and sometimes flat out garbage. And this part here is my personal favorite. I take full responsibility for what was such a disappointment to so many fans. I did the best I could, but at the end of the day, I dropped the Dragon Ball. Oh yeah, baby. Is this my first video essay? I think that's what this is. No, that one's more of a rant. Yeah, this is my first video essay. So what do you guys think? Are there any live action adaptations that you really like that I didn't mention here? Are there any that are absolutely awful that I also didn't mention here? In my dumb stupid head, is Gem and the Holograms the best thing ever made and I'm just not smart enough to know? Let me know in the comments. I'm super interested in what you guys think on this one. And I'm always watching, I'm always replying. It's literally 1984 down there. Make sure you like and share the video, it'd mean a lot to me. And subscribe, duh. Psh, what? I come out with new content pretty frequently. And if you like this, I'm sure you'll like my other stuff. It's a lot more casual, but if you guys enjoy this, I can do stuff like this more often too. Either way, I'm Nightly, you've been awesome. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.